what I'm going to do is to give you a brief outline of the political outlook in the U.S., as well as how the new political situation in Washington will affect U.S.-China ties. Now, let me first quickly talk about the domestic political outlook in the U.S. right now. On paper, it does seem like a status quo situation right now, but if you look a bit deeper, the political environment has really changed. Obama and the Democrats clearly have greater leverage right now, and the Republicans are really in a bit of a disarray right now and trying to figure out their way out. And I think in this environment, we're really looking at a small window for sensible compromise on the fiscal cliff. And if the Democrats and Republicans are able to come to a deal a week before Christmas, that is the widespread expectations without too much drama. And I think that's going to set the stage for much more saner economic policy from Washington next year. Now, it's kind of hard to predict exactly what sort of deal we're going to get from the fiscal cliff. But I think the one thing that's certain, based on all the signals we're getting, is that taxes on the rich are definitely going up. It's no longer a question of when, but really how. And I think the Republicans have lost the war on trying to protect taxes from going up on the rich, and I don't think we're going to be refighting this. What accounts for this mildly optimistic outlook? I would say the main reason here is the huge momentum gap between the two parties that you're seeing right now. Obama and the Democrats, of course, they don't have enough votes to get through legislation on their own terms, but they have the next best thing, which is a highly demoralized Republican Party. The Republicans not only lost the White House and the Senate majority, which they should have won, but I think American voters also rejected them on a whole host of issues ranging from immigration, tax policies, gay marriage, and I don't think the Republicans want to be punished twice for the same mistake. And I think that is why you're going to see a growing number of Republicans try to move back to the center. And this is going to give Obama a chance to strike a compromise deal on the fiscal cliff and perhaps to govern in a saner place next year. Now, we don't really know how long this détente in Washington is going to last. The Republicans will certainly regroup, and DC will probably go back to a familiar gridlock that we've seen in the last 2 years. But for now, I think we will avoid a repeat of the worst political infighting that we saw back in summer of 2011. Now, let me quickly pivot to foreign policy. I think most of us do agree that Obama's re-election is good for continuity in U.S.-Asia relations, but I'm far less optimistic than Prof. Koh about where U.S.-China relationship is headed. I think having sensible leaders on both sides does prevent the relationship from going downhill in a big hurry, but I think it's far harder to expect a qualitative improvement in the relationship simply because the problems in the relationship are structural in nature. I'm not entirely convinced that Obama or Xi Jinping on their own, will make a big difference into the substance of the relationship right now. And I think the recent China bashing that you probably heard in the U.S. presidential campaign, I don't think it's just convenient politics or the usual rhetoric. American public opinion towards China has really taken a turn for the worse. If you dig a little deeper into the stats that Prof. Koh mentioned in the Pew study, you will find that a lot of Americans are actually, or rather the trend is really a worsening trend. I mean, no doubt the numbers are still small, but it's going in the wrong direction. And it's not entirely clear to me that the leaders on both sides are doing much to arrest that trend. And the problem with the way public opinion is going is that it emboldens more economic confrontation with China. And this is exactly what we're seeing coming out from the US right now. And even among the elites in the China policy circle in the US, when we talk to them, there's this striking pessimism about where the relationship is going. And this is something that I've not seen in the first 2 years I was in the US. So it's something new, and I think it's worth watching. And I'd just like to end on this note. I mean, in the newspaper, it's very fashionable to talk about a reset in the relationship when you have new leaders who come on board. I'd just like to point out that we should keep in mind the fact that Obama is not someone who relies too much on personal relationship in his foreign policy dealings. He's not like George W. Bush. He's not going to look into Xi Jinping's eyes and see his soul. That's not going to happen. He's much more comfortable with a multilateral approach, and I think that is really what is at the heart of his Asia pivot strategy. And my personal sense is that the best we can hope for in the next 4 years is perhaps a more business-like approach in U.S.-China relationship, and I think in the long term that's probably not a bad thing for us all. I'd like to end there and hand my time to the other speakers. Thank you.